I think the one thing that you want to avoid ad blindness, so to speak, it's a different form of ad
Good word
blindness.
for it. Yeah.
Um, is you have to have your variants of your graphics need to be dynamic enough to where it can't be confused as the same thing.
My name's Dave. This is Dustin. Both of us run online business, and we're just hanging out, chatting. Dustin and I text back and forth. We've known each other, never met in person, which is pretty much all the good relationships online. Things like you never meet in person, but you got these awesome friendships that develop offline.
I have two business partners in my most successful business, and I've never met them in person. Known them since 2013.
That's the way it goes. But we've been texting back and forth, just kind of chatting about. I wrote a piece on URL shorteners. And Dustin goes, oh man, that was a great piece. I've got one. I need to update it. And you've been using Rebrandly, so you're like, I need to update. I said, well, let's do a link exchange. I'll post mine, which is literally like a how to get your URL shortener going. And you said mine's a Rebrandly, but you were like, I've got one that displays all the features. So we did this link exchange, and then we kind of just been texting back and forth about what we're working on.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great match because I didn't want to go through all the steps of how to set up a Bitly custom URL because there's just so many steps. And I was like, oh, well, Dave already wrote it. I don't have to do all that. I'll just talk about the Rebrandly side, and both audiences get, they get the benefit of, hey, if you want the full Bitly version, go to there. But here's the Rebrandly version.
Which I love Rebrandly. I told you when I tweeted this online, the only reason why I don't use it is because it doesn't integrate with Buffer, and that's the main thing that I use short URLs for. So I don't use Rebrandly because they have a workaround, but it doesn't utilize all of the tools Buffer has available. So I really like it, and I hope that they get an integration. Because here's the thing, man. For the longest time, Bitly was really the only one that offered any type of integrations, whether it's native or through Zapier, and they didn't have any type of accessible, non-mega enterprise Costco, Apple, Kroger type plans, and you're kind of stuck with them. Well, Rebrandly came along. Well, you know more about them. Tell me a little bit about what they, because I know you got the little URL shorteners, but I'm still trying to figure out all of the additional stuff you can do with these URL shortening services. What are some of the things that Rebrandly?
So, man, it's fantastic. So the biggest thing for me was Rebrandly showed up around a time where Bitly was really trying to figure itself out from a business standpoint. And I actually, exchanged multiple emails with who at the time was their director of marketing. They were really struggling to find the right business model.
Yeah.
And they had this enterprise plan where it was like, I feel like it was like $500 to $1,000 a month just for, the enterprise level integrations. And they couldn't really find a consumer facing side or a more scaled down side for, solo business owners or bloggers or social media managers. But they still had like the free, you can get your custom branded URL in there. So instead of like creating like a cheap, easy to, not so expensive plan, what they did was they ended up cutting people's the number of links they could create every month down significantly.
Yeah.
And I can't remember I think it went from I feel like it went from something like 4,000 to 1,000 branded URLs. And then after that, they started even cutting it down more. I think you could only create like 500 a month now or something.
No, it's even lower. So it's down from, I got in on one that was 500 and now it's down to 50. I use it up in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's incredible. And so they started making those cuts, and I thought to myself, I told him this point blank. I was like, I'm going to find another service. Somebody's going to undercut you on this.
Yeah.
And it was within a week or two that Rebrandly contacted me and said, hey, we'd love you to try out our new tool. And I started using their tool, and their business model was very different. It wasn't based on how many links you were creating in a month. It was more or less they were going after how many clicks, what's your volume, which makes a lot of sense from a technical standpoint because each click is a redirect, and that takes server resources. So that makes a lot more sense to me from a business model standpoint. You start limiting the number of links people can create, which is, from a server standpoint, that's not a whole lot of energy that you're using to create a link. It's the clicks that take the actual server resources. So Rebrandly came around, and it wasn't just that it was a better financially, or resource wise. Like I can create more links and not have to worry about exceeding my quota. But it was also a lot easier in that I could buy these short links or the domain names on Rebrandly, not have to go and configure DNSs and then go through all these steps
Which
to
is really helpful.
all the technical stuff. I could literally just buy the domain and it's already set up.
Yeah.
Like it's ready to go within minutes. It's set up. So that was super easy. But then on top of that, a couple of game changers for me from a marketing standpoint. They had UTM builder. They had a UTM builder built into the shortener.
Which, if people don't know what the UTM builder is, it's a pretty standardized protocol. If you use Google Analytics and you want to know where your traffic's coming from, the UTM parameters, there's 4 or 5 different parameters, and you give them a name. So if you say, "Hey, I'm going to share something on Twitter," you go ahead and in the source you say Twitter, and so then at the end of your daveshrein.com, there's a little question mark, and then it says, source equals Twitter. And so now anytime somebody clicks on that particular link on Google Analytics in the acquisition tab, it'll say, "Hey, you got 15 links, 15 clicks from Twitter to your homepage." So that's what UTM parameters are. They're super, super helpful. We won't get into the details, but that's what those are. So it had a builder right in there, so you didn't have to go to Google URL builder.
There was another browser extension that I was using to sort of build these UTM strings.
I've got those.
But to have it built right into the shortener right there where I could easily do it. But on top of that, it allowed you to create presets. So I could build it once, and then the next time I want to add that UTM string, it's just one click. On top of that, another game changer, being able to add my Facebook pixel to the shortened URL. So for example, the example I use in my article is if I'm sharing a Social Media Examiner article on socialmediaexaminer.com, somebody's going to click on that link, they're going to go to socialmediaexaminer.com, and Social Media Examiner is going to add a Facebook pixel to that user. I don't get the benefit of that. I don't get to know that that one person who follows me is heavily interested in Facebook marketing, because that's the link that I shared. But Rebrandly lets me to actually add my Facebook pixel into the link. So when they click that link, in the process of redirecting them to the right URL, it pixels them.
That's cool.
So now I'm getting the benefit of growing that audience, that Facebook pixel audience, or my Twitter pixel, my Pinterest analytics pixel, any pixel you want. You can add them into Rebrandly and get the benefit of sharing anyone's content and still generating that that additional audience for your marketing pixels. I thought that was brilliant because as a website owner, we build a lot of websites, and like sometimes getting those pixels to work exactly right is a struggle, right? Because you've got all these other plugins working and caching. I put it in the short URL, done.
Yeah.
Nothing simpler than that. So the Rebrandly was extremely compelling for me. Now it is a bummer that it doesn't integrate with things like Buffer or CoSchedule or Agorapulse, which I'm a big Agorapulse user. I've been bugging them for a while. They are very responsive at feature requests, and literally within the first month I was using Agorapulse, they had already implemented like 2 of the things I asked for.
That's cool.
So I'm hoping that Rebrandly comes soon if enough people ask for it.
The thing that I like about the URL shorteners is in like 2011, 2012, there were a lot of people doing blogging. I mean, there's a lot of people blogging now, but in the circles that I was in, a lot of people were like, "Oh, when's the right time for me to share on social media? And how long does my post need to be? And what does my headline need to be? And should I make a comment? Should I like my own post? Should I not? Should I share my own post? Should I have a page? Should I have a profile?" And it was all these marginal questions that ultimately it all solves itself if you just publish good content. Like if you publish good content and you have good sharing practices in terms of like, write a post that shares the benefit of your article, like it's gonna go well. All these other things are what I call like marginal things that, hey, if you do one of them right, they really don't move the needle. But if you're gonna really go after them, like you need to do all of them right, and together they'll make a difference. And I feel like using a like a custom branded URL, short URL that Rebrandly and Bitly and some of these other ones offer, using the custom branded one, like that's not going to move the needle at all for any part of your business.
Right.
But that in conjunction with really good social media graphics, that's two things that you can do to brand your business and to increase authority and grow awareness, things like that. And so that's what I like about the URL shortener, the custom one, is it's like,
Right.
hey, it's not going to do anything for your business. If you think that's going to move the needle, like move on. But if you're saying like, no, like I want to go across the board and I want brand authority and I want to increase the strength of my brand, it's one little touch that I
Yeah.
like to do for all of our clients.
Basically, that's branding in a nutshell. 1,000 things that all seem coordinated in one something that's consistent between all of them.
One of the things that we've been doing, kind of like on the heels of what I mentioned right there, one of the things that we've been doing with our clients and then so I've got Campaign Donut, which I'm working on. It's a brand new content marketing training platform, and there's some other things we have that we're working on in the background. I don't know if there's a different name for them or what you would call them, but we call them visual marketing assets. And so when we do a new rebrand for a company, and we create a new, kind of like a story narrative, and then we create a primary logo to support that narrative, I say, let's go ahead and just create all your YouTube thumbnails right now, like the template that we'll use. Let's create 3 or 4 different templates that you'll use for your quotes, for your social sharing images, if you're not going to use a photo, for your featured blog images, for your newsletter. And so we get this uniform look across all of their platforms, all their cover pages. And then we lean on those when we go in to design, say, a new web page, right? A new landing page. Say, hey, let's pull in those fonts. Let's pull in those, icons. Let's pull in all these different elements to create something that looks consistent, and shows people that you know what you're talking about. You got your stuff together. So we've been doing those, and I think we've got like a specific generator that we use for all of our YouTube thumbnails that we'll use for Campaign Donut, and then we do that for our clients. We get like 3 or 4 different event posts. So when they have like one client I'm thinking of, they do speaking engagements all across the country. And so we have a particular 1200 by 630 image that we will pop a new photo in, and then we'll change out the text on the side, but they all look similar. You've been doing stuff like that for a long time. What have you called those? Like I said, we call them visual marketing assets. That's what we call them internally and in sales.
Oh, I basically called the same thing. I just shortened a little bit to visual assets.
Visual assets, okay.
Because to me, everything is marketing. So they're just visual assets. We start with the brand guide. Yeah. A lot of businesses, they may already have a logo and some branding in place, but a lot of them I've found don't have a guide. Yeah. They don't have something that they can go to and say, okay, this is the exact color that we use. These are the exact fonts that we use. These are the exact types of photography that we use. These are the exact filters and stylistic elements that we use. So we usually, make sure we get that set aside first, and then we'll create those. We just call them visual templates or blueprints. Sometimes we create, a number of visual blueprints or templates for them to consistently use that we can easily go in, and usually these are in Photoshop, and create 2 or 3, 4 different layouts. I like to create a few different layouts just to keep things fresh. So if we have one YouTube thumbnail where the text is top left, photos on the right, we'll have one where it's kind of swapped and mix it up just a little bit. But yeah, templates are huge to having some visual assets to create them quickly.
I don't know how well we're going to be able to see this, but this is what we wind up doing. So we wind up creating one page on a website, and it's usually, so this is Campaign Donut. It's campaigndonut.com/brand, and that's what we'll do whenever we do branding for a client. We'll put everything.
That's much easier than what I do. I do /style-guide.
Oh, well,
brand is a lot easier.
Brand might be easier. So right here, it's kind of hard to see, but like this is the primary logo right here. So you can kind of see a hint of it. That's the primary. And then we've got a link to where if you tap that link, it opens it up in Dropbox, and you can or actually this is all the zip files. So that downloads a giant zip file. Then down here, this is the secondary logo. You click on, oh yeah, this is primary, opens up Dropbox. There's all the PNGs, the JPEGs, the EPS, the AI, the TIFF files, all the different sizes and the versions. And then this is the secondary logo. And if you keep scrolling down here, I wish it was a little bit easier to see. There's our cover page. There's another cover page. And all of these link to a particular, see, it's hard to see. They all link to the template in Dropbox. So you click on that and it downloads the PSD template. So the real thing that we tried to do for our clients was, and that's a selling thing. Like, so we charge extra for that, but it gives them, whenever they're going to get like t-shirts done or new printing done or whatnot, they just, you say, hey, here, go to this page on our website, and it has all of our logos, all of our colors, so that you can get it right to all of the different vendors that they use. And it's been really, really nice. Going back to the social sharing thing, there's this whole stop the scroll. And if somebody's following your brand, do they get tired of seeing the same visuals and they just tune it out? And so you don't want to use branded assets. You don't want to use branded graphics, because they'll just see it and they'll be like, oh, that's Campaign Donut, or that's Social Warfare. I'm just going to move on. Or do you want to stay using them? Do you want to mix it up? Do you want to use photos? Like, I'm trying to decide what the approach should be for 2019, because I want that brand authority. I want to strengthen the brand, but at the same time, I want to make sure we stop the scroll.
This is something that I've been teaching a lot of my gym owners that I've been recently reaching out to, because I'm all about helping gym owners. So I'll start with the gym owners, and then I'll go on to
what's the website real quick, because we talked about that before I realized we were having issues. What's the website for the new service?
SoVisual.co is the new website. Basically, social media graphics for fitness brands. So one of the things I'm teaching these gym owners is, look, you're in an industry where everybody's taking selfies. That's all there is. Selfies, selfies, selfies. And the selfies in the mirror, selfies of, their rear end, selfies of, them working out. It's all selfies. What their potential customers are seeing is endless selfies. That's what they're seeing. So what you have to do as a business owner is you have to do something that's in the same vein, right? That has a connection to what people are used to seeing, but it has to pop out of that in some unique way. And that's why we create these graphics. They're still fitness photography, things that fitness enthusiasts or people who want to get into the gym, that's what they're looking for. But they've got a slight pop. They've got a quote graphic or some visual element that kind of sticks out and makes them stop. You want to understand your audience. You want to understand what it is they want to consume, and then you have to do something just slightly different. Now, in the case of a business like Campaign Donut, you're a business, you're creating content. I'm in the same world. I've got a blog I'm creating content for, a WordPress plugin, and we're creating content for that. So I think the one thing that you want to avoid ad blindness, so to speak, it's a different form of ad blindness.
Good word for it, yeah.
Is you have to have your variants of your graphics need to be dynamic enough to where it can't be confused as the same thing, right? So I've seen a lot of blogs who they're so good at their style guide, but you look at their blog roll and all their featured images, they could basically be the same thing, right? It's the same color background, it's the same text in the same position, and a similar, illustration. It's very much the same. To where if I were to just be scrolling and I would sort of I do the blur test. Like if I back up and I take my glasses off, which I'm nearly blind when I take my glasses off. If I back up and I look at that screen and I can't tell which one of those blog graphics are different, if I can't tell which one of those blog graphics is different, if they all look the same blurred out to me, it's not going to work. People are going to become instantly blind to your third or fourth post. So it has to be varied. You have to be a little bit creative with varying the style and the little things that actually make it branded. So don't get so stuck into a template and a style to where it looks and feels the same thing every time. And that's a real challenge, especially in a streamlined environment where you're creating a lot of content. You want to speed things up and be efficient, but at the same time, visually, people do get ad blindness. It's a real thing. And it doesn't have to just be an ad. It can just be, featured image and the open graph image that shows up in Facebook or LinkedIn. So vary it, mix it up a little bit. And that's why, you'll go through my blog and you'll see some consistency in the visuals. I try to use photography because I find my audience connects more with photography rather than straight illustrations or graphics. But I vary the, where the text is placed, what kind of image, the coloring. I try to mix that up as much as possible while staying consistent to the brand.
Make your design intentionally
harsh.
Yeah. Brutal. Is it called brutal?
Brutal, yeah.
Yeah. Brutal design. And so the idea is like, if you're gonna do here, let's advertise for Smart Water.
Brutalism.
If you're brutalism, that's right. So if you're gonna do like an ad for like Smart Water, instead of like having a bunch of like a white background with the bottle sitting right there, like you would have like spray paint all on top of it, and you'd have like letters saying the message right next to it, and they'd be all like blocky and heavy, and immediately you'd stop and you'd think like, what in the world am I looking at? And it forces you to stop and look at it. Another thing that he had been doing for a while was like TV static, like old school television static. There's people now who don't even know what like television reception is anymore. But before everything was digital, you have the bunny ears, the rabbit ears, and you'd stand over by the TV and you'd kind of like adjust them, and then you'd like move things in your house, and the static would get clearer or more distorted based upon the dimensions, and the VCRs too. You remember you'd pop in a tape and it'd start to play, and at the beginning of the tape it'd be like all like ribbony static, and then it would start to play. So he started using that brutal type style as a way of like, hey, this is going to get people to stop the scroll. But yeah, I like what you're saying, and I think that's what we've tried to do for the most part, is like, hey, let's change it up enough so that it's interesting, not ignorable. Let's keep it interesting. And the thing is like people...
Consistent, but not repetitive.
That's good.
Is what I tell my clients. Brutalistwebsites.com is a thing. And it just lists a bunch of websites with brutalist design. You can really get a feel for what this kind of design is. It's pretty much dead now. There was like a huge trend last year towards it. Sort of the anti-polished, the anti-flat design. Let's do something super wild. You don't see it very much anymore. I can't, disclaimer, I don't know what kind of things are shown on that site. So if there's anything weird, just be aware.
Brutalistwebsites.com, is that what you said?
Brutalistwebsites.com.
Instagram is something that I want to get into. My business, we've been fortunate. Like, God has really blessed our business in that we've got really great people, and it's been growing pretty crazy. We're about to hire our third full-time person in the last 3 months, and I'm really excited about that. But another part-time person we added was an in-house videographer, and he's just coming in once a week to edit a few videos for us. I'd like to give him more work. One of the things that we're going to start doing for one of our clients is we've got hundreds of hours of video footage for him. We're going to start cutting it down into Instagram story bits and to under 1 minute for Instagram posts. But other than that, man, I really have not spent a whole lot of time in Instagram, but there's been some algorithm changes. Educate me on what I need to know.
So there's a lot of people reporting on huge drops in Instagram engagement.
Which I'm going to interrupt you. It just underscores the need to have a website and to have an email list, because you can control those two things. You cannot control the social media. Go ahead. Big drop in engagement.
Their algorithms. So yeah, a lot of people reporting on this, a lot of people talking about it in some of the private Facebook groups I'm a part of, some of the Slack channels I'm a part of. And as always, people panic and it's like, oh no, my reach is going, my engagement's dropping. But here's something I had a brief conversation with my friend Peg Fitzpatrick on Twitter yesterday. And what I've seen mostly is I've seen Instagram trying to cut down on bot activity, trying to cut down on these fake likes and fake engagement and auto comments. And here's the thing, folks. A lot of these influencers that you probably follow, look through their comments and see how much of those comments actually feel robotic or shallow or like they had no thought put into those comments.
Yeah.
I think what Instagram is doing is they're really trying to cut down on inauthentic activity, because a lot of these influencers are faking it. And a lot of the people that I know personally are faking it. Now, some of them are paying for these likes. There are plenty of apps and plenty of things. I could literally, Dave, go out today and I can get you 1,000 likes on your recent Instagram post. I could do it. It would cost me, a few pennies, some chump change. Anybody can do it. Which is why, I really don't give much to the social media influencer anymore, because it's easy to game. It's easy to buy your way to the top. But these bots and these fake algorithm systems and apps, what they've done is they've started doing it to sort of fly under the radar, not to get as noticed, is they'll go on legitimate accounts, people who haven't paid for them, and they'll just start doing the same activity on accounts that didn't hire them to do it. So I have some influencer friends. I've noticed they've had some fake stuff, and I know personally that they would never do that. Have those fake likes or fake comments go on there, but these companies are doing it to make sure that they're not too obvious. They want these accounts to look real. So I think what's happening, Instagram has gotten better at finding these fake accounts and this fake engagement, and they've cut down on it. Now, what does that do in the algorithm? What that does is that means less signals going into the algorithm saying this content is engaging because it's getting less engagement. Those bots are being eliminated. Fake engagement is being down. So everybody's seeing reduced engagement because these fakers out there are getting pulled back. They're not allowed to engage. So I think my hunch, this total hunch, just analyzing some of the accounts that I follow, I think what Instagram is doing, they're not intentionally cutting your reach. They're not intentionally cutting your engagement. What's happening is there's less signals going into the algorithm because these fake accounts are being cut off and cut out. So that's my gut reaction on a little bit of analysis, because seeing less engagement on legitimate accounts that I know are not paying for likes and stuff like that. There's no other explanation that I could really legitimately come up with looking at multiple angles.
I had this thought in my head, and I didn't tweet it out because I just didn't think it was worth saying out loud. Don't trust the stuff that you see on a screen. Like, if you're seeing it on a screen and it's not a family home video, like an unedited family home video, like, just don't trust what you see on the screen is real. And I have a hard time with that. So I'll go through these these different meme websites just because I like to laugh. So, I mean, if you like to laugh, then, whatever. So I like to laugh. And so I'll go through these different meme sites and I'll see something that just is funny, and I'll show it to my wife, and she's like, that's not real. I'm like, just let it hang. Like, just enjoy it for what it is. She's like, I can't laugh. Like, a camel doesn't move that way. And I'm like, just let it be funny. Enjoy it. And she's like, I can't do it. And so it's caused me to start, like, my joy has been stolen. It's caused me to start to, like, question every little thing that I see now. Even the funny things, I'm like, well, it's not funny because it's not real. It bums me out. But anyways, like, the overall thing is, like, what you see online is not, like, just assume right off the bat that it's not the 100% fully transparent version of itself. Now, like, even me, like, I try to say, like, 100% authentic doesn't mean 100% transparent. So I'll be 100% authentic in a video that I load up to YouTube, but it's not 100% transparent. Like, I made mistakes, so I cut out those mistakes, and I stuttered. I stuttered, and I cut that out, or I look stupid here, or I did this, and I decided that didn't look good. So it's not 100% transparent, even though it's me. Like, I'm not trying to mislead anyone. Just assume that everything you see on Instagram, on Photoshop, like, you can't compare yourself to any of it because none of it's fully real.
Yeah. And it's hard for people like us who are in the game constantly. Like, I battle with depression sometimes. Yeah. I'll see I love that Chris Brogan talks about this too. He's very transparent in his struggle with depression too. And you look at someone like Chris Brogan and you go, man, that guy's successful. I mean, he's got multiple New York Times best-selling books. He's consultant. He speaks all over the world. As a speaker, I look at him and I go, man, he's speaking there and there. I'd love to speak on those kind of stages someday and get, have big companies pay me to come and speak. That is the life, right? But at the same time, he's looking in his feeds at all his colleagues and going, oh man, there's another speaking engagement that I didn't get.
Right.
Another speaking engagement. Oh, he's gotten way more likes than I have. So it's this endless cycle. No matter where you're at or what you're doing, there's always going to be these vanity things that we cling to and look at and say, oh, if I only had that, if I only had this, I'd feel better about myself. You gotta fight it.
It's a moving target. That success, that pinnacle reach, that I've arrived, it's constantly moving. Wealth is that way too, man.
Right. And so I think one of the things that Instagram doing that is really positive, that a lot of people are up in arms about, and in fact, I was kind of up in arms about it at first, is they're getting rid of like counts. They're testing getting rid of like counts on posts. Now, you as the poster, you'll still be able to see how many likes you're getting, but people following you won't see how many likes you've gotten. And I think that's actually a really positive move for mental health, because you won't have as much of a comparison game as like, oh, Peg Fitzpatrick just got another 1,200 likes on her Instagram post. I'll never get that many likes. And why should I care? Like, why does it matter? Why does it mean I'm more or less better at life, or more valuable as a human, less valuable as a human? No, it doesn't. And so I think it's a really good positive change that they're making that some people might actually be upset about.
Some people will be upset about it, and those are going to be the people who take a screenshot, post it out there, and be like, see, I'm legit. And it has the screen number. There's a book. It's a faith-based book, but regardless of what your faith is, it has a really great word, and the word is this: is that whenever you compare yourself to somebody else, you always lose, because you're comparing what you know to be true about yourself with what you don't know about somebody else. Right. And that was a real, for me, I was trying to volunteer in the lives of students, and you'd see all these other people who were volunteering, superstars, and you're just like, why should I even volunteer? They're like way better than I am, and I'm never going to make a difference, and poo-poo on me, whatever. And it was like, but you don't, like, you really don't know. Like, you, I've started saying, like, you don't know somebody. You think you know someone? You don't know somebody until you actually walk inside their house and see how they live. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And that's the way that it is with the personality and with their, their confidence and things like that. Like, you just don't know. And I love that, because it's a guard against me looking at what other people are doing. For me, I'm trying to be a better version of who Jesus was. But if you want to break it down into not an eternal thing, but like a real thing, I'm just trying to be a better version today of who I was yesterday. And the things that I failed at yesterday, doing a better job. And for me right now, honestly, it's being a present parent. Like, being present with my kids. I'm great at my work. I'm great at my job. I'm a great boss, right, Carlos? Yeah, he gave a thumbs up. But
give him a raise.
Being present, I'll pay you later. Being present with my kids, like, that's the thing that I'm trying to be better at. And I've even had people say, oh, your Instagram stories, it looks like you just have the perfect family. I'm like, yeah, that's after all the tears and the yelling stops. So
right. And so here's the analogy. I came up with this analogy back in the Google Plus days. On Google Plus, it tended to be a lot more of the intellectuals. The people who were super active there. They were the intellectual people, wanted to have in-depth discussions, and there were comments for days about this and that. But there started to be a lot of bickering, a lot of like, somebody's wrong on the internet and I need to prove them wrong, or getting mad for people who aren't smarter. Like, they don't know these things that I know, and I'm so angry, and I have to, make sure that they know that they're stupid, like, kind of thing. That I have to make sure they know that I'm smarter than them.
Yeah.
And I think it was so ridiculous to me, because a third grader, right, in school is not, going up to a senior in high school, and third grader tells them what they know about addition and subtraction, multiplication, and the senior is not going, well, how stupid are you that you don't know abstract algebra or calculus? And I don't know what abstract algebra is, if that's even a thing. Of like, how stupid are you that you don't know how? Like, I'm angry at you, third grader, that you don't know these highly complex things. And the problem is, in the internet world, we don't have a grade system. Yeah. There's no, like, we don't know what year anybody is on. Like, somebody who's had, like Chris Brogan, he's been doing this thing for 20 plus years. Whenever he published his first book, he published a book before I even started in this game. And I'm comparing myself to his journey, right? I'm comparing myself now to where he is. He started many years before me. But we don't have that after we get out of school. So we can't, compartmentalize, okay, they're already here. I just have to wait, 8 more years until I get there. We're going, I'm here right now. they're here at this place farther than me right now, and I'm depressed about it. Like the third grader's not getting depressed that he's not a senior and knows all this algebra and calculus stuff. So we shouldn't either. We should have that perspective of like everybody's in a different life journey. Everybody started at a different time. And, you know, even if somebody younger than you, because this happens more and more to me as I get older, somebody younger than you comes up faster than you, is more successful than you, that gets really hard. But still, you don't know their backstory. You don't know their history. You don't know how they grew up. You don't know anything about, you know, what it actually took from them to get to where they are. So worry about your journey. And I love that quote. You said it. You know, it's like, I'm not competing against anybody else. I'm competing against yesterday's version of me.
Yeah.
As long as I can do that, that's what matters.
I heard John Acuff speak live, and one of the things that he wound up talking about, and I don't know if this was original to him or if he was repeating a story that he heard, but he had talked about during his time with Dave Ramsey that they went on a video thing, and Ramsey was there and he was there, and it was kind of one of these deals where Ramsey was just cool, calm, collective, said all the right things, and Acuff just kind of started talking and jibber-jabbing to the point where Dave Ramsey, and I don't know if this is exactly what it was, but basically kind of said, like, stop talking, like, cut it off. And afterwards, Acuff says to someone who's been working with Ramsey for so long, and it was along the lines of, man, how does he do it? He just knows, he's so refined. And she goes, you have to remember, he's been doing this for a really, really long time, and you just started. And then he dropped the line, never compare your middle with somebody else's end. And it was just like
that's the quote.
It was boom. It was real good. So, hey, man, it's 12 o'clock. I know you got stuff going on. So I appreciate you taking a few times hanging out with me and letting some other people eavesdrop in. I'm sure there'll be folks watching, you know, kind of what we were doing throughout the rest of the day. So I'll check the comments. I'm sure you will too. And we'll do something like this again real quick in the future. All right, man. We'll see you later.
All right, Dave. Peace, y'all.
Peace and grease.